dialed what she thought was emergency services. Instead, she reached the private crisis line of Gene Park, a ruthless Korean-American billionaire whose tech empire was built on predicting the unpredictable. What he couldn't predict was that saving one woman's life would shatter every calculated wall he'd ever built around his heart. In the next 4 minutes, Gene would mobilize a medical team that rivaled military operations, bypass every protocol in existence, and discover that sometimes the most dangerous thing a man can do is answer a phone call meant for someone else. Before we dive in, beautiful people, please remember to hit that like button and subscribe. It's the best way you can support us as we continue delivering captivating stories that'll keep you hooked every single day. The morning had started like any other in the cramped but cheerful Harlem apartment where Maya worked. The autumn sun painted golden squares across the hardwood floor where 7-year-old Zara sat cross-legged, meticulously arranging her collection of painted rocks into elaborate patterns. Her mother, Maya, stood at the makeshift desk near the window, hunched over her laptop, fingers flying across the keyboard as she finalized the coding for a new educational app she'd been developing for months. Maya was a freelance software developer, one of the best in her field, though few knew her name. She worked from home, taking contracts that paid well but demanded brutal hours. The current project, an interactive learning platform for underprivileged schools, was her passion project. It was also eating her alive. 3 days of minimal sleep, surviving on black coffee and determination, had left her running on fumes. The warning signs were there. The slight tremor in her hands. The way the room occasionally tilted at the edges of her vision. The hollow feeling in her chest that she kept dismissing as anxiety. But Maya had learned long ago that single mothers didn't have the luxury of weakness. Bills didn't pause for exhaustion. Deadlines didn't care about self-care. She was reviewing a particularly complex section of code when the world suddenly went soft around the edges. The laptop screen blurred. Her ears filled with a rushing sound like distant water. She reached for the desk to steady herself, but her fingers found only air. The last thing she registered was Zara's bright voice calling "Mommy" before everything went dark and she collapsed. Zara scrambled to her feet, her painted rocks scattering across the floor. "Mommy? Mommy, wake up." Her mother lay motionless on the floor, one arm stretched out, her face peaceful but terrifyingly still. The little girl's heart hammered in her chest. She knew the rules. Mommy had drilled them into her head. If Mommy won't wake up, call the number on the refrigerator. Zara ran to the kitchen, her small hands shaking as she scanned the emergency contact list held by a butterfly magnet. Her finger landed on what was supposed to be the local urgent care hotline. What Zara didn't know was that Maya, in a fog of sleep deprivation 2 months ago, had transposed 2 digits when writing down the number. Instead of reaching a medical facility, the number Zara was about to dial belonged to a communication system that hadn't been publicly accessible in 15 years. A ghost number that now connected directly to a very specific office in a very specific building downtown. Zara picked up their old-fashioned corded phone, something Maya had kept because it worked during power outages, and carefully pressed each number. The line rang once, twice. Then a voice answered, cool and commanding, with the faintest trace of an accent that suggested expensive international schools. Yes, it wasn't a greeting. It was a demand for information, the voice of someone who expected every second to count. Please, Zara whispered, tears spilling down her cheeks. My mommy fell down and she won't talk to me. Across the city, in a minimalist office on the 68th floor of a building that housed the headquarters of Park Technologies, Gene Park had just finished dismissing his executive team from their morning briefing. He stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows, surveying Manhattan like a general surveying conquered territory. Behind him, on a sleek glass desk, sat an old rotary phone, black and vintage, that had no business being in this temple of modern technology. The phone was a relic, a test unit for an encrypted communication system he developed years ago. It should have been disconnected. Instead, through a series of technical oversights and Jin's refusal to let anyone touch his personal workspace, it remained active, silently connected to a backup security network that only activated during specific crisis scenarios. When the phone rang, Jean turned sharply. The sound was jarring, impossible. He crossed the room in 3 strides and lifted the receiver, his mind already cycling through security breaches and system failures. Then he heard the child's voice, small and terrified, and everything else became irrelevant. Is she breathing? Jin's question was immediate, precise. I think so. Her chest is moving. But her eyes are closed and she won't answer me. Zara's voice cracked. You're doing perfectly. What's your name? Zara. Zara, I'm Jean. I need you to listen very carefully. Can you tell me where you are? Your address. It's on the table. Mommy wrote it down. There was shuffling, then Zara's voice returned. 1247, Frederick Douglass Boulevard, apartment 5C. Jean was already moving. He pressed a button on his desk that opened a secure channel to his head of security. Code Omega. Medical emergency. Adult female, unconscious, possible cardiac or neurological event. 1247, Frederick Douglass Boulevard, apartment 5C. Deploy Apex team immediately. I want them there in under 4 minutes. Full trauma equipment. And get me live feed capabilities. His security chief, a former Navy medic named Sarah Chin, didn't question the order. She'd worked for Jean long enough to know that when he used Code Omega, everything else stopped. Team is rolling. ETA 3 minutes 40 seconds. Jean returned his attention to the phone. Zara, help is coming very fast. I need you to do something for me. Can you unlock your front door? The big lock is hard. Just the chain lock and the twist lock if you can reach them. The helpers I'm sending need to get inside quickly. Okay. He heard her small footsteps, the click of locks. I did it. You're incredibly brave. Now, can you see your mommy from where you are? Yes. Tell me what she's wearing. As Zara described her mother's gray sweatshirt and jeans, Jin's secondary screen lit up with data. His system had already accessed building records, municipal databases, and traffic patterns. A 3-dimensional map of the apartment building rotated on his screen. His Apex team, 3 medical professionals who were technically Park Technologies employees, but trained to military standards, was marked by a moving green dot racing uptown. Jean had established the Apex team after a close friend nearly died waiting for an ambulance stuck in traffic. He decided then that money could buy something better than faster ambulances. It could buy a parallel medical system that answered to no one but him. Zara, you're going to hear a knock on your door in about 1 minute. These are the helpers. They're wearing dark blue uniforms with a silver logo. Do not open the door for anyone else. Do you understand? Yes, Mr. Jean. The way she said his name, with such desperate trust, did something unexpected to Jin's carefully controlled emotions. He'd built an empire on cold calculation, on reading people like code and exploiting weaknesses. He'd learned early that sentiment was a liability. Yet this child's voice was dismantling years of practiced detachment. Zara, what's your mommy's name? Maya. Maya Johnson. Jean typed the name into his system, which immediately began pulling information. Freelance software developer. No criminal record. Excellent credit score considering her income bracket. Single parent. No red flags. His screen flashed. Team entering building. Zara, they're almost there. Seconds later, he heard the knock through the phone, then Zara's small voice saying, "Are you the helpers?" A deeper voice responded, "We are. We're here to help your mommy. Sir, we have visual." The voice came through Jin's earpiece now. Dr. Marcus Webb, the Apex team leader and a former emergency room surgeon who'd retired at 35 to work exclusively for Jean, was streaming live video from a camera on his tactical vest. Jean watched as the team entered the apartment. He saw Maya for the first time, collapsed near a desk, her dark skin against the light floor, her natural hair pulled back, her face slack with unconsciousness. She was beautiful even in distress, he noticed, then immediately dismissed the thought as inappropriate. Vitals? Jean demanded. Blood pressure low, pulse weak but steady. Pupils responsive. Checking blood sugar now. Dr. Webb's hands moved with practiced efficiency. Blood sugar is critically low. starting 4 glucose and saline. Sir, this looks like severe hypoglycemia, probably from overwork and malnutrition. She's going to need observation, but she's not in immediate danger. Transport her to Park Medical. Private suite. And make sure the child goes with her. Understood. We'll have them there in 15 minutes. Jean turned his attention back to the phone. Zara, the doctors are helping your mommy right now. They're going to take both of you to a very nice hospital where she can rest. You'll ride with her. Is there anything you need to bring? My backpack? And mommy's laptop. The doctors will get those for you. You did everything right, Zara. You saved your mommy's life. After the line disconnected, Jean stood at his window, the phone still in his hand. His head of security appeared in the doorway. Sir, what just happened? That number hasn't been active in years. Apparently it was active enough. Jean set the phone down carefully. I want a full background check on Maya Johnson. Employment history, financial status, medical records, everything. And Sarah? I want to know why a 7-year-old had to call a defunct number to save her mother's life. Should I assume this is personal interest? Jin's expression remained unreadable. Assume I want to understand why my emergency system just got activated by accident. And assume I want to make sure it doesn't happen again. But even as he said it, Jean knew he was lying. What he really wanted was to understand why a woman he'd never met had somehow become his responsibility the moment her daughter's voice came through that phone. Maya woke to softness. Everything was soft. The pillow beneath her head, the sheets over her body, the light filtering through what appeared to be custom blinds. This wasn't a hospital. At least not any hospital she'd ever been in. The walls were a warm cream color. The furniture was real wood, not plastic. There were actual plants in the corner, thriving under grow lights. The only thing that suggested medical care was the 4 in her arm and the nearly invisible monitor tracking her vital signs. You're awake. Good. A woman in elegant navy scrubs entered, holding a tablet. Her name tag read Dr. Sarah Chen. How are you feeling? Confused. Where am I? Where's Zara? Your daughter is in the next room with a child specialist, currently destroying a bowl of macaroni and cheese. She's fine. Completely unharmed and actually handling everything remarkably well. Dr. Chen adjusted Maya's 4. You're at Park Medical Center, specifically in one of our private recovery suites. You experienced severe hypoglycemic shock combined with exhaustion and dehydration. You've been out for about 6 hours. Park Medical? I can't afford. All expenses are covered. Which brings me to the interesting part of your story. Dr. Chen pulled up a chair. Do you know how you got here? Maya's memory was fragmented. Working at her laptop. The feeling of falling. Zara's frightened face. Zara called for help. I had the number on the fridge. She called a number, yes. But not the one you intended. The number she reached belongs to Gene Park, the CEO of Park Technologies. He mobilized his private medical team, which is why you're here and not in an overcrowded ER waiting for insurance approval. Maya blinked. Gene Park. She knew the name. Everyone knew the name. He was in the news constantly. A tech billionaire who'd revolutionized logistics and supply chain management. Korean American. Famously private. Famously ruthless in business. And apparently, famously equipped with a private medical army. Why would his number be on my fridge? That's the question everyone's asking. Apparently, it's an old disconnected line that was somehow still routed to his personal office. Your daughter's call activated a crisis response system that's meant for corporate emergencies. Mr. Park answered personally and sent his team. Maya's mind reeled. This is insane. I need to pay him back. I need to. He's already specified that all costs are covered and that you're not to worry about repayment. He's also requested to speak with you if you're willing. He's actually been here since you arrived. He's here? Now. He's been in the waiting area for 6 hours, working remotely. He wanted to ensure you were stable. Before Maya could process that information, there was a soft knock and the door opened. The man who entered was not what she expected. Gene Park was tall, probably 6'1", with sharp features and dark eyes that seemed to catalog everything instantly. He wore a perfectly tailored black suit with no tie, and he moved with the controlled grace of someone who is always aware of his body and space. He was younger than she'd imagined, maybe late 30s, and startlingly handsome in a severe, angular way. Miss Johnson. His voice was the same one Zara had described, deep and precise. I'm Jean Park. I'm glad to see you're recovering. Maya struggled to sit up straighter. Mr. Park, I don't even know how to begin thanking you. You can begin by not thanking me at all. Your daughter is the one who deserves credit. She was remarkably composed under pressure. He remained near the door, maintaining a respectful distance. I wanted to explain what happened and to assure you that this was simply a technological anomaly. You're not in debt to me. Consider it an unexpected benefit of calling the right wrong number. But the medical team, this room, the care, this must cost. Ms. Johnson. Jin's tone became firmer. I built my company on logistics and resource allocation. The resources I deployed to help you represent a rounding error in my quarterly budget. However, what I learned from your daughter represents something far more valuable. She reminded me that systems exist to serve people, not the other way around. I'm in your debt, not the reverse. Maya studied him, trying to reconcile the cold corporate reputation with this man who'd apparently camped out in a waiting room for 6 hours. My daughter said you were very kind to her on the phone. Something flickered in Jin's expression. Zara is an exceptional child. And you should know that I took the liberty of examining your work. The laptop that was brought with you contained files for an educational platform. My team's preliminary analysis suggests it's some of the most innovative child-centered design we've seen. You're very talented, Ms. Johnson. Maya felt heat rise to her cheeks. You looked at my work? I needed to understand the context of your collapse. Overwork is epidemic in the tech industry. I wanted to know if you were running yourself into the ground for something worthwhile. He paused. You were. It's a project I care about. That's obvious. It's also obvious that you've been neglecting your health to complete it. My medical team's report indicates you've been operating on insufficient sleep and nutrition for at least 2 weeks. Jin's eyes hardened slightly. That's unsustainable and unnecessary. Maya bristled. With all due respect, Mr. Park, my work schedule isn't your concern. Perhaps not. But it became my concern the moment your daughter's voice came through my phone and I realized that an exceptionally talented developer was about to die on her apartment floor because she felt she had no other choice. Jean stepped closer. I understand the pressure you're under. I've been there. But I had resources. You shouldn't have to sacrifice your life for your work. Easy for a billionaire to say. Jin's expression didn't change, but Maya saw something flash in his eyes that might have been respect. Fair point. Which is why I'm making you an offer. Not charity. Business. I want to fund your educational platform. Full development budget, proper timeline, and a living wage for you during development. In exchange, Park Technologies gets first option to distribute it through our corporate social responsibility program. Maya stared at him. You can't be serious. I'm always serious about business, Ms. Johnson. Your platform could reach millions of underserved children. That aligns with my company's mission. And, selfishly, I want to ensure that the woman whose daughter accidentally became my responsibility doesn't end up back in a hospital bed because she's too stubborn to accept help. I'm not a charity case. I'm not offering charity. I'm offering a partnership. One that begins with you recovering fully, then we discuss terms. Jean reached into his jacket and pulled out a card. This has my direct number. The real one that actually connects to my phone intentionally this time. When you're ready to talk business, call me. And Ms. Johnson? I'd also like to take you to dinner. Not to discuss business. To understand the woman whose daughter called me and changed my entire day. Maya took the card, her fingers brushing his briefly. The contact was electric. You want to take me to dinner? I want to understand how a wrong number can feel more right than anything I've carefully planned in years. That requires conversation. Ideally over excellent food. Jin's lips curved in what might have been a smile. I promise not to talk about resource allocation or logistics. After he left, Maya lay back against the impossibly comfortable pillows, holding his card. Dr. Chen peeked back in, grinning. Well, that was interesting. Is he always like that? I've worked for Jean Park for 3 years. I've seen him negotiate billion-dollar deals without blinking. I've never seen him personally wait 6 hours for someone to wake up. Whatever just happened here, Ms. Johnson, it's not typical. 2 weeks later, Maya had moved through a whirlwind. The platform had received full funding. Her apartment had mysteriously received several upgrades she definitely didn't authorize, including a proper ergonomic workspace and a state-of-the-art security system. Zara had received a personalized thank you package from Mr. Jean that included art supplies and a tablet loaded with educational games. And Maya had agreed to dinner. The car that picked her up wasn't ostentatious, just impeccably maintained. The driver, a professional woman named Lynn, made pleasant conversation about the weather and assured Maya that Zara was in excellent hands with the childcare specialist Park Technologies had sent. The restaurant was in Koreatown, small and elegant, the kind of place that didn't advertise because it didn't need to. Jean was already there, seated at a private table in the back, wearing dark jeans and a simple black sweater that somehow looked as expensive as any suit. He stood as she approached, and Maya felt suddenly self-conscious in her emerald dress, the nicest thing she owned. "You look beautiful," Jean said simply, and the directness of it, without flowery elaboration, was somehow more powerful than any elaborate compliment. "You look different without the suit. I'm told I'm less intimidating this way. Though I suspect that's a lie." He pulled out her chair. "I ordered a selection of dishes. I hope you're adventurous with food. I'm a single mother in New York. I'm adventurous with everything." The food was extraordinary. They talked about everything except the obvious. Maya told him about growing up in Atlanta, about her late mother who'd been a mathematics teacher, about her dreams of making education accessible to every child regardless of zip code. Jean talked about immigrating from Seoul at 8, about building his first algorithm at 12, about the loneliness of being the smartest person in every room until you stopped trying to connect with anyone at all. "I built Park Technologies because I was angry," Jean admitted, pouring them both tea. "Angry at systems that failed people because of human error and inefficiency. I thought technology could fix everything, make everything predictable. And can it? It can't fix the fact that a 7-year-old girl calling a wrong number felt more important than any business deal I've ever made. It can't explain why I haven't been able to stop thinking about you since I saw you on that apartment floor." Jin's eyes met hers. "I've spent 15 years eliminating variables and unexpected outcomes from my life. Then you appeared, completely unplanned, and suddenly I want more variables." Maya felt her heart race. "I'm not a business problem you can solve, Jean. I know. That's what makes you dangerous." He reached across the table, his hand covering hers. "I want to be clear about something. I don't do casual. I don't date. I work. But since your daughter called me, I've realized that everything I've built means nothing if I'm building it alone. I want to know you, Maya. Not as an investment. Not as a rescued stranger. As someone who might understand what it means to be driven and brilliant and so focused on the goal that you forget to live." Maya turned her hand over, lacing her fingers through his. "I have a daughter. A complicated life. Deadlines and responsibilities. I can't be swept into some billionaire fantasy where everything is solved with money and resources. I don't want to solve you. I want to know you. The woman who writes code for children who'll never meet her. The woman who works herself unconscious because she believes in something bigger than herself. The woman who raised a daughter brave enough to save her mother's life." Jin's grip tightened slightly. "I'm not good at this, Maya. Relationships. Emotions. The messy, unpredictable parts of being human. But I'm very good at recognizing when something matters. And you matter." They stayed at the restaurant until it closed, talking until the words ran out and the silence between them became comfortable. When Jin's driver took them to a rooftop garden he'd somehow arranged access to, where the city spread out below them like a galaxy of light, Maya realized she'd crossed some invisible threshold. "I have a confession," Jean said, standing close to her at the railing. "I had my security team investigate you thoroughly. I know about your student loans, your failed relationship with Zara's father, the 3 jobs you worked while getting your degree. I know everything." Maya turned to him, surprised she wasn't angry. "That should bother me more than it does. I needed to know if you were real. If this feeling was justified. Jin's hand came up to her face, his thumb tracing her cheekbone. I've discovered that every single thing about you justifies everything I'm feeling. You're real, Maya. You're brilliant and fierce, and you somehow called into my life through a broken system and made me realize my life was just as broken. I didn't call you. Zara did. Same difference. You're here. And I've never wanted anything more than I want to know what happens next. When he kissed her, it was careful and deliberate, like he was learning a new language. Maya kissed him back, tasting tea and possibility, feeling the controlled power in how he held her, like she was precious and dangerous at once. This is crazy, she whispered against his mouth. Completely, Jean agreed. I've run probability analyses. The chances of everything that happened aligning perfectly were astronomically small. A wrong number reaching a defunct line that I answered personally, leading to this moment. It's statistically impossible. But it happened. But it happened. Jean pulled back enough to look at her. I don't believe in fate, Maya. I believe in patterns and probabilities. But you and Zara broke every pattern I've ever understood. You're the variable I never calculated. And for the first time in my life, I'm grateful something was unpredictable. Maya smiled, reaching up to touch his face. My daughter called the wrong number and found the right person. That's either the best accident in history or the universe telling us both to pay attention. I'm paying attention. Jean kissed her again, deeper this time. I'm paying attention to everything. The story could have ended there, a perfect moment suspended over the city. But real stories don't end in moments. They continue in morning texts and late-night calls, in Zara charming Jean during weekend breakfasts, in Maya moving her development work to a proper office Jean insisted she needed, in slow careful steps toward something neither of them had planned but both desperately wanted. 3 months later, when Maya's platform launched to overwhelming success and Zara asked if Mr. Jean was going to be her daddy, Jean looked at Maya across their now shared apartment and said, "That depends on whether your mother says yes." The wrong number had found the right person. And sometimes, the most sophisticated system in the world is no match for a child's love, a mother's courage, and a man finally learning that the best things in life are the ones you never see coming. If you enjoyed this story of unexpected connections and second chances, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more incredible tales of fate, family, and finding love in the most unlikely places. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a story that reminds you that sometimes the wrong call leads you exactly where you need to be.